Yes. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever and wherever you are. This is Javier, and I am the host of this meeting of the Speech Anxiety Masters Club, the world's only speech club that focuses on alleviating speech anxieties, and that is populated by ex-stutterers and those fast becoming ex-stutterers. Speech Anxiety Masters, or SAM, is sponsored by Speech Anxiety Cures, the world's only community of ex-stutterers helping stutterers. SAC is dedicated to the cause of removing stuttering and speech anxieties from the planet. We have three goals here: to stop stuttering, to teach ourselves to love to speak in all venues, and to elevate our lives through mind training. Our rules are that no one is required to say anything, but all are encouraged to make comments and ask questions. Before speaking, please hit the raise your hand button and be recognized by the speech master. If you wish to communicate with the host or anyone else in writing, you can use the chat feature at any time. Do not say anything that you would not be pleased for your parents or children to hear you say. And finally, please turn on your mute button and keep your mic muted until you wish to speak. Be advised that these meetings are recorded and may be shown in whole or in part by SAC on its website or elsewhere. After today's talk, our moderator Pratusha will invite questions and comments. Please raise your hand to be recognized before you speak. So for today, our speaker is Apoorv Gaur. He, he currently lives in London, UK, and he began stuttering at age 8. Although his stuttering used to be mild, he had plenty of stuttering fears and insecurities. And by studying Lee's third edition of his book, he 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 could improve and and reduce his stuttering considerably. But what has helped him the most has been the coaching sessions with Lee Lovett. Apoorv began to be coached by Lee in June of 2019, and his speech has quickly begun to improve. And in May of this year, Apoorv posted his success story. So Apoorv, we are all very proud of you, and we are very happy to have you as our speaker for today. And so Apoorv now is going to speak about his battle with phones. So Apoorv, the mic is all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Javier. Thank you for the kind introduction. All right. Hey guys, how are you doing today? I hope all well. All right. Cool. So as Javier said, I'm going to be talking about my battle with phones. All right. So here goes. So I have had stammering since I was a kid, since as long as I can remember. As I struggled with my speech through school, eventually around grade 9 or 10, I chanced upon a technique which helped me stammer less, prefacing words with the S sound, or as we now know it as crutch 4. This helped me improve my speech significantly, but didn't really help me with my speech on the phone, the speech situation which I dreaded the most. In fact, the one I still dread the most. Whenever the phone would ring, I would find some way to escape from the room, thereby allowing me not to pick it up. In situations when I had no choice but to pick it up, I'd always walk with the phone to a different room so that nobody in the house could see and hear me struggle as I communicated on the phone. Eventually, the pain associated with speaking to others in general, but more specifically on the phone, increased beyond the pain and friction of taking some corrective action. At this point, I realized that I would have to practice speaking on the phone to improve. But now, with whom should one begin practicing? Who would be generous and kind enough to spare their precious time practicing talking to me? The resolution of this dilemma seems very obvious to me in hindsight. It didn't seem so obvious and simple back then. One day, as I was combing through the newspapers, I realized that most of the newspaper ads had given their phone numbers. They were spending money so that people would call them. This was a eureka moment for me. I put two and two together and began looking for potential speech partners in the newspapers. Eventually, based on my interests and the frequency of different ads, I decided to focus on vacation packages advertised by travel companies such as Thomas Cook. I began spending about 30 to 40 minutes per day calling up 2 to 3 different travel companies and inquiring about their different travel packages to all parts of the world. Now, since my objective was to speak as much as I could per call to maximize my practice time, the salesmen on the other end found themselves being asked increasingly weird questions as I'd begun to run out of more normal questions to ask. Over time, not only did I begin to feel more comfortable talking on the phone, I unexpectedly became the travel expert my extended family would consult before planning their trips. Eventually, when I began to run out of travel companies to practice my speech with, I decided to move on to another of my interests, cars. As I repeated the same process of questions and long conversations with car salesmen over the phone and improved in confidence, I realized that I had garnered significant knowledge about cars. Around this time, I graduated from college and moved to a place called Gurgaon, not far from Delhi, the capital of India, to begin my first job. Now, one day, as I was heading home from work, I realized just how fast luxury cars like BMWs, Mercedes, Audis were whizzing past my humble small car on this 8-lane highway. As I was doing my usual calls to the car companies from the newspapers to practice my speech on the phone that day, one of the salesmen, being totally convinced that somebody asking so many questions is bound to be a serious customer, asked if I'd like to test drive the car. And if so, he'd be happy to bring it to my house the next day. I I was a bit hesitant to test drive an expensive car, as I had not driven an expensive car till then. But the fresh mental image of that exquisite 8-lane highway nearby convinced me to say yes. The next day's 45-minute test drive on the 8-lane highway at speeds of over 140 kilometers per hour convinced me that I had chanced upon a golden egg. Over the next 2 months, I test drove over 30 cars for about 45 minutes each on this 8-lane highway, including multiple BMWs, multiple Mercedes, multiple Audis, and even a Porsche Boxster with an open top. Eventually, when the salesman would call back after a few days of the test drive to inquire about my decision, I would tell the BMW guy that I bought the Mercedes guy that I bought the Audi, and the Audi guy, well, you get the point. This repeated exercise of starting with a long phone call and ending with a long test drive, peppering the salesman with questions all along, improved my confidence tremendously, not just in talking on the phone and talking in person, but also in general. Over time, as I became complacent, I stopped doing these phone calls. And lo and behold, my speech began to suffer. The old anxieties resurfaced, and so did the uhs every few words. Eventually, a couple of years ago, I came across Lee's book and read it end to end in a couple of days. I sensed real hope when I read his book. I began doing my reading practices, practicing the crutches, especially 4 and 11, and doing affirmations. A few weeks later, I sent an email to Lee without much hope of a response back. Well, respond he did, and over the next few months, practicing with him, I found my speech improving and my confidence improving. Lee suggested incorporating an affirmation targeted specifically towards speaking on the phone. I love speaking on the phone, as I have practiced the last couple of years, at first sporadically, and then in the last year or so, almost every single day. I find my speech much improved in person and especially on the phone. Another resource that's been invaluable the last few months has been the SAC website, where I have gone back to go through Lee's video lectures in the anxiety course to refresh my memory on the key principles and practices, especially on days when I am feeling anxious, fearful, and pessimistic about my speech. I had a chat with Lee this week, and when he asked me when was the last time I appeared speech disabled, I thought about it for a few seconds, but couldn't come up with any instance uh, that I could remember, which is great and illustrates that I have come a long way. I wouldn't say, however, I love to speak yet, certainly not on the phone, but I do believe that by practicing Lee's methods daily, sincerely, I will get there, like many of you. I think this speech club is also a great place to get inspired by other folks who have beaten it, to listen to their stories and march on. And finally, thanks Lee for sharing your wonderful methods to help all of us PWS not just see light at the end of the tunnel, but also for hand holding us as we cross it. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, that was fantastic. Like, it's natural for you. You are a fantastic speaker, and you add
Thank you.
one element in your speech that makes it more attractive. You know what? It's humor.
Thank you.
Yeah? All right, that was a fantastic speech. I think
Awesome.
the first person to raise the hand is Nazir from Pakistan. Do you want to say something?
Uh, Hello everyone. I mm, 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 hope you all are doing well. Well, uh, I don't have any prepared speech in my mind. I just want to have some basic information about this community. Like I message in chat just a few minutes bro that if this group like community have any Facebook or WhatsApp uh, group where we can get basic information regarding the therapy or and therapy or program to overcome our stamina. And second thing I wanted to ask is for a person like me who is a severe stammerer, and my stamina is uh, is uh, uh, is is genetic, as my father and one of my maternal uncle is also a stammerer, and one of my sister has stammered too, but she has very mild stammering,
Okay.
uh,
Okay. So
unlike me.
Lee. Okay. So Lee, would you like to talk about the first question? Like he asked, where do we find the basic
Okay,
information?
that's yeah. We have a pyramid full of information. Um, I've written 3 editions of my stuttering book. The last one is now almost 600 pages, and I'm adding to it right now. The third edition amended will be out in January, and it'll be longer. You can start with that, but I would say we have the benefit now of something even that goes beyond my book, which is Speech Anxiety Cures, which is really an organization that's trying to put together a program that helps make my methods a lot easier to understand. And they've done a great job, bless their hearts. And I help them any way I can. I don't own it, I don't work for them, and they don't pay me. And I still coach for free, but I work for them for nothing because they're pursuing my cause. My cause is kick stuttering off the planet. That's simple. And I can't do it alone. And they've done a lot. And I've done like 60 videos and lectures on my books. I've written 4 books that are speech related. And I've done videos on all of them, about 60 videos in all. And they're all on SAC. They're like lessons or lectures. And they're 30 minutes to 45 minutes or so each. And they're on there. So that's helpful. But a lot of the people that I've helped beat it, and I've helped about 200 people beat it, and about something over half of them, considerably over half of them, have posted success stories on a little charity that I formed, which is really nothing more than a museum to display success stories. That's really all it is. And we have those stories written there by PWS, by people like Prathusha and Javier. They're examples. They're people who beat it and posted success stories. I trained them to become certified speech coaches for SAC. They now have 7 or 8 speech coaches. They're all coaching and helping people and getting success stories that I can't get. And they're working for free a lot themselves, mostly I think for free, and that's helping too. SAC formed this speech club, Speech Anxiety Masters, SAM we call it, and it's functioning every Saturday at 9 New York time, 9 a.m. It'll eventually, they plan to eventually have it functioning around the world in different time zones and languages, in Spain and India and wherever. And but right now it's just functioning at this location. They have a forum whereby you can go ask questions, anything you want, and the answers basically come from certified speech coaches, and they're very good. Their perspectives are different than mine. There are no clones. Everybody approaches stuttering a little differently, and they're creative. They're very creative themselves. So they're engaging in discourse on their forums on SAC. There's also a blog on there where they post short sort of essays on different subjects that are important. And SAC is also sending emails to people weekly with tips and things that have discovered by coaches during the week, and all that's helpful. But I guess overall, it's I don't, when I wrote my book, I did not know that stuttering was thought to be an incurable disease. I didn't know that. I beat stuttering. I beat stuttering at around age 30. And that was more than 4 decades ago. And so, I mean, I beat it alone, and I didn't write about it until 2016. But I did coach people over the years. And since 2016, I've been writing about it, and I learned that it's supposedly an incurable disease. It's not incurable. Stuttering is a habit. Stuttering can be unlearned. To unlearn it, you've got to stop doing it. And there are a lot of ways to stop doing it. And our 1, 2, 3 punch gets most people there. 9 out of 10 of the people I've worked with have stopped stuttering. I can't say how many of them have learned to speak. I've learned to love to speak because most of them are so happy when they stop stuttering that they stop communicating with me. I mean, they may on occasion if I write them, but they disappear. They're just thrilled to death and they go on with their lives. End of the story. We consent to stutter. And when you withdraw your consent, stuttering's days are limited. And when you develop methods to avoid driving, stuttering is like a ditch along the side of the road. And we keep driving in it by habit. It's like a magnet. But when we learn ways to resist the magnetism of the ditch, we stay in the center of the road. And after a while, the ditches gradually disappear. And that's what happens. But your question, Nasir, really goes to our entire program. All of my books, everything SAC is doing, this club today, it's everything. And this right now, for the first time, as far as I know, in the world's history, there is a group of people who are ex-stutterers who are banding together. This is it. We also have with us other people like you who are in the process of becoming ex-stutterers. And if you follow this program, in my opinion, and you're diligent and you believe you can, you too will become an ex-stutterer.
Yeah, Lee, I want to follow this program, and uh, I feel it's time to say goodbye to stammering,
Yeah.
as it's been 28 years that I'm suffering from this uh, stammering, and it making a lot of problem for me in developing a career, or making a good career.
Nasir, we're glad to have you, but Prathusha, you've got to let some other people ask questions
Yeah.
too. I talked
Yes,
too
of
long.
course.
That was my
Yeah.
fault.
Okay. So
Question,
I hope
Nasir.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
I hope that answers your question, Nazir. So
Yes.
up next we have Steve from NYC. Steve, are you there? Yeah.
Yes, yes, I'm
Yeah.
here. Wow. It's funny. I swear, each meeting I come to gets better and better, man. First off, I loved your speech. It was hilarious. And I love the fact that you would call up salespeople and harass them for hours on end. Made me laugh as a former salesman and a stutter. I was kind of torn between your story. I was like, as a stutter, I thought it was hilarious, but as a former salesman, I was like, man, what a jerk. So I was kind of teetering between the two, but very funny. And I'm going to start implementing that myself. I to this day, I still hate the phone, and I'm trying to build a career myself. And I know, unfortunately, you need to master the phone to make money. And as far as the new person, I just want to say welcome, Nazir. And buddy, I know your pain. I've been in your shoes, still kind of in your shoes, and I've only been a part of this group for a few weeks now, and I feel blessed to have found this group and Lee's book, and I look forward to hearing about your story, and I hope you keep coming back, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you progress as well as I progress, and that's about it. That's all I have to say. I'm just blessed to be here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. Up next, we have Shubham from India.
Hey Apur, your speech was awesome. It was full of humor, like everyone said. I truly enjoyed the speech because you gave you showed that confidence of uh, going to an unknown stranger and calling him directly. And that's the first step to first step of getting out of the comfort zone. And I feel that you have improved a lot. I have saw your videos on YouTube, and you were speaking fast, but now you have improved a lot and you are speaking in short sentences. And I am sure you will continue to improve by speaking like this.
Thank you.
Like,
Thanks so much, man.
yeah. All right, Shubham, thank you so much. And next, we have Shwaja.
Hello, yeah, so hello, approve. That was a very nice speech. So you said that you used to talk with a lot of people over the phone. That then your speech was in, in was improved, right? And then when you stopped talking with the people over the phone, your speech became worse, right? Until you met Lee. So I also find that it is easy to improve my speech. So only for a while, and then it's easy to fall off the wagon. So I wonder, what are you doing every day to like keep forming the new habit?
Hey, Shivaji. Hi. So,
Yeah.
is the question directed towards me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah. So, like I mentioned in the speech, I mean, I have been practicing. Almost daily. I think for the last 1 year or so. So, yes, I think that I think practicing daily is the thing which is helping me the most. So, I still like speak very fast, right? I mean, so right now while giving the speech, because I was um, reading out from a document on the computer. So I was intentionally speaking slowly. But if I speak to you like right now, then I would have a tendency to speak faster. But by practicing every single day, I certainly have like slowed down a lot than before, and I stammer much less as well. Yeah. So the answer to your question, I think, is that I mean practicing daily, I think, is a thing that has worked for me. I mean, so just practicing these methods every day.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Shwaja. And my question to you, Apurv, is that what has been helping you the most? Like which crutch in specific?
Sure. So to help me begin, I typically use the crutch four. I mean, for example, adding the S sound is something which I've been doing for a while, or
Mm-hmm,
adding the sound as well. I mean, so in the past, I would keep saying the sounds like repeatedly again and again, but then
mm-hmm,
Lee taught me that use that sound as a weapon. So
mm-hmm,
rather than saying again and again, I would I use the as a gateway to start speaking fluent. So for example, my name is Purv, right? So rather than like saying the word again and again, just use it as a gateway to say the word. So that is one crutch four with these sounds.
okay.
And
Mm-hmm,
the second one, once I've begun speaking, then crutch 11. So full stops softly, slowly, right? So, but I do forget that often. I mean, so I am able to insert full stops, but I forget the slowly thing often, and I start rushing like a machine gun, as Lee says. So I think I have to I think keep working on that for a while.
yeah, I think crush number 11 will be
Yeah,
very helpful for you
yeah,
since it has a lot of pauses.
yeah.
Yeah, and then one more question for you is uh, how has ASD helped you doing ASDs twice?
Okay. By AST, do you mean autoserations?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So well, I mean, I'm not quite sure like how specifically the ASTs has helped, because I'm doing all the three things at once. So I'm doing my reading practices, and I'm doing the ASTs and the crutches as well. So I'm not quite sure like what improvement can be attributed to each of these three parts individually, but together I can say for sure that uh, my speech has improved by leaps and bounds. But exactly what part to which, I think that's very difficult, because I mean, I'm doing all three of them every day.
Yeah, and I think that's really a big challenge for you to actually identify where ASD is helping you.
Yeah,
So let me just share an example.
yeah,
So, for example, I stopped stuttering, right? Like long back, I became a PWSS, and the second stage was the most challenging stage, which is loving to speak in all the venues. And how did I achieve that? So every day by saying, I'm the best speaker in the world and people love the way I talk. I'm the best speaker in the world and people love the way I talk. You know, even if I don't believe that, I kept saying it. And at one point of time, I started to believe it. Because the more I say it, the more I think about it, the more I think, the more I start believing it. And that solves half of the problem. So this helped me to voluntarily go and approach people. Like it triggered me from within, like, oh my god, there is an opportunity here, there is a crowd of people in front of me, and I actually enjoyed to go and talk to them. So it was not like a obligation, okay, now I have to go and achieve the second goal. No, it was not like that. I was internally driven to go and talk in front of people. So that's what AST helps you to achieve. Yeah.
okay, awesome,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome feedback.
So
Prathusha, can
that,
I stick in something?
yes, of course.
The most, you just said, basically, the most repeated thought becomes the dominant thought. That is a neurological fact. That is what brainwashing is. You can brainwash yourself. I can brainwash myself in a positive way or a negative way. We have done it in a negative way in many ways in our lives. But what you're doing is in a positive way, and it will work. Number two, the going back to the question of, how do you avoid falling off the wagon? Number one, as I mentioned earlier, you have to consent to stutter. It's a habit, but it's a subconscious, unconscious consent. If you will stop talking, if you will take a 2 count, if you will start again with the crutch, you will never stutter. And unfortunately, we have to make that decision, and we have to find a way to do it. And when you start again with the crutch, you've got to really know the crutch is like the back of your hand. It's like a tennis racket. If you leave the tennis racket on the bench, it won't help you score a point. You've got to have it in your hand. The crutches you must know, and Prathusha mentioned earlier, using them automatically. Well, that's right, but they become intuitive after a while. It's just natural to grab some. And the irony is that eventually, when you realize you never have to appear disabled again, and you prove it day after day by not appearing disabled. We say when you've been a month, you should post a success story. That's our view, because we don't think anybody can go a month without appearing disabled at some point unless they know the crutches well enough to look in the mirror and say, I don't ever have to stutter and appear disabled again. I may make mistakes and force a word once in a while, but I don't fear. I do not appear disabled ever, and I never will. And when that day comes, then you're not going to fall off the wagon. Again, you're not going to do it. But you've got to know these crutches. And Prathusha also said, keep doing the whole program. And that's right too. Read aloud, do your auto suggestions on a daily basis, and use the crutches. It's stay on the program until when? Until you can look in the mirror and say, I love to speak. I don't care where it is, who it is, what time it is, what the instrument is. I don't care. I love to speak. Bring it on. Then we have one more step in this program. And that's working on our mind training, working on boredom and depression and anger and anxiety and greed and hatred and jealousy and insomnia and everything else that ever bothers most of us. We attack those demons. And you know what? Then we can say someday, you know something? Stuttering was a great blessing in my life. And some of us give back by coaching other people.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Yes, Lee, you're absolutely right. Okay, up next we have Kelly from Wyoming. I think you're on mute, Kelly.
Yes, I was. Hi, everyone. Excellent speech, Porf. That must have taken a huge amount of of courage to call all of those people. You are an inspiration to all of us. So I had a question. So right before you would make your phone calls, is there any sort of activities you would do to help yourself on the phone call, like ASTs, or you're writing out the questions you wanted to ask? Or yeah, my question is there anything you would do right before your call that is helpful?
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for the good feedback. Yep. So to the question, I was making these phone calls a long time ago. I mean, say about 7 to 8 years ago. So I don't really remember exactly what I was doing before the phone calls, but now when I make, I mean, any difficult phone call, or suppose I'm going to be in any difficult conversation. So at present, before any interaction, I do a few things. So I try to like take some deep breaths before speaking. I mean, so let's say for at least like 2 or 3 minutes, like consciously deep breathing to calm myself down and to be less anxious. I do some reading aloud practice before a difficult conversation, again to sort of get my speech into a slow speed and to feel more confident in the talk. So, and thirdly, I try to visualize all the amazing speech incidents which I've had in the past. So, I mean, so visualizing what I've spoken really well in the past, and I think that sort of fills your mind with positive thoughts rather than, filling it with anxiety and negative thoughts about what could go wrong. So, yeah. So I do those 3 things at present before any difficult conversation on the phone or in person.
Well, you sound awesome. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Both, I also
please, go
want
for
to
it.
ask one thing.
Saurabh, I
Uh,
got your Saurabh, 1 minute. I got your response. I'm going to call you next. Okay. Yeah. Apur, do you want to go ahead? You were saying something.
Yeah. So no, I mean nothing specific. I
Okay,
forgot
I
actually
think
what Kelly
you
was
just
asking.
lost the train of thought. That happens. All right. And I just wanted to say this to Kelly. I saw your video with Lee recently on YouTube. You sounded amazing. I didn't even find a trace of stutter. And you were using multiple crutches, which was amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Thank
And
you.
Prathusha, now she's talking to a crowd here. That's a whole another world. And she's doing a great job here too. But one-on-one, she's killing it. She's killing it.
Yeah. And she really rocks that speaking softly. She does it really well. Even I can't do that. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
So I think up next it's Sarah.
Yes, I wanted to basically know what do you do if you have a bad day and how do you manage it?
Is this question to me or for Apurv?
Uh, any one can actually this.
Okay, Apurv, do you want to go first?
Yeah, actually, sorry, I didn't really hear the question. I'm really sorry. Could
Yeah,
you please
okay.
say it
Yeah,
So
again? Yep.
yeah, my question was, what do you do if you have a bad days? What is your mindset like? Do you think about that or do you don't think about that? What is your mindset at that time? Because most of the people that actually stutter and have a bad day, they also think about, oh no, I have a blog, what to do next, and all those things. Do you still
Yeah.
think about you, or you don't think about it, and how do you manage it actually?
Yeah, sure. Yes, yeah, sure. So yeah, so one, I do still have bad days often. I mean, they're definitely much less frequent than before. And when I have them, like you said, the negative thoughts keep swirling in the mind, and I find myself, the inner voice keeps criticizing and saying that, look, I mean, I've been doing all this work and I have still not improved. So, like you said, I mean, that negative voice is present even now, and it's powerful, and it keeps criticizing and condemning for a long time. But then I think that, with constant practice, I do feel that that negative inner voice has become weaker than before. And I think that now, the time for which that negative voice is able to keep saying negative stuff has reduced. So in the past, I remember when, I mean, one bad speech incident would stay in my head for days. And for days I would keep recounting how I could have said something differently, or how I could have done something else to prevent the bad situation from happening. But now it definitely does not go till days. I mean, I would say that it doesn't even go till hours. I mean, for a few minutes, yes, I'm feeling bad and I'm sulking, but I'm able to come back quickly. And again, I think that's only possible because of the program, right? I mean, so practicing aloud, saying the affirmations, and yeah. So yeah. So I think it helps
yeah,
to cut that time down.
yeah, I
Yep, and
100% agree with you.
I
Yeah.
also want to know, do you still think about stuttering?
Yeah, of course, man. That's why I'm here. I mean, I'm in the call because I think of it, I mean, a lot. I mean, so if I did not think of it, then I would probably not be in the call.
Cool.
All
Prathusha, do
right.
you think about it? Do you think about stuttering?
No, like I do not think about stuttering at all. Like it's insignificant. Like it no longer makes sense to me because I don't stutter anymore. Lee, I guess you're on mute.
I have the same answer as you do, Prathusha. I don't think about it either. It's very rare. I haven't had fear for 40 years, and I get an occasional threat and I just destroy it with a crutch. It's a joke. It's a
Yeah.
joke. I do not think about stuttering.
Yeah.
Pratyusha, but if you wanted to give speech to 100 people and
Mhm.
you don't think about stuttering at that moment also.
No, I did not. You know what? I gave a speech holding a mic in my previous organization in front of 500 people. You know, obviously, I was sweating profusely and I was nervous. You know what I told myself? Instead of saying that I'm nervous, I changed it to, oh my God, I'm really so excited. I'm going to nail this. That's what I kept saying to myself. So I just turned the nervousness, which is a negative emotion, into excitement, which is positive, something to be celebrated. So that's how I dealt with it. And trust me, I nailed that speech.
Yep,
So,
and
th-
do you disclose disclose also that you stutter before the speech? Because most of the people that actually stutter disclose before the speech that they had a speech impediment,
Mhm.
so they don't have so the people could easily understand it.
Yeah, I got you. You know
Am I
what?
audible?
The people who try to tell that they have stuttering, they don't, because they feel good about it so that people won't judge them. So they are already informing people that they are going to stutter, so they can even if they stutter in their speech, it won't be like awkward. That's why they say it. But we don't have to do it because we have crutches that makes us appear completely fluent. So why there's a need for me to inform people that I have a stutter? Because I'm not going to stutter, because I'm going to think about the crutches and I'm going to nail it. I know it,
Yeah,
right?
but what what if the situation don't go that well?
No, the thing is, you have to understand here. I have mastered the crutches. Okay, I have mastered it. And when I talk, I
But
think only about the crutches. I don't think about
but
my speech
I
at all.
absolutely agree with you. But you're still a human being.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of
human being
course.
can also make a mistake. So you
Yeah.
are pretending
Wait,
to be like or too fluent at a time, but not making a mistake that actually don't
One second,
not
Saurabh.
look
Prathusha,
good.
Yeah, yeah,
Prathusha, let me jump on that.
yeah.
The way you define mistake is the problem. Prathusha and I define a speech, a bad incident, as appearing speech disabled. Prathusha and I forgive ourselves human mistakes. We are human. We accept that. We make mistakes and force a word. We do not appear speech disabled ever. And the fact that we never appear speech disabled because we choose not to, and we have methods of avoiding it, eventually our fear is gone. And we don't fear little mistakes because they don't matter. They don't appear disabled. Little mistakes are irrelevant. You are concerned with little mistakes, and you can't be. You can't
No,
be. There's only two grades in speech: pass and fail. Fail means you appeared disabled. Pass
yeah,
means you appeared fluent.
yeah,
Prathusha and I appear fluent at all times, in all venues, in all circumstances, to all audiences, at any time of the day, any day of the year, as long as we both shall live. True, Prathusha?
Absolutely, Lee. And I would like to say something to Sarah. So when I start talking, I always use crutches between 7 and 13. And when you use them properly, there is not even a iota of chance that you can stutter. Period. Okay?
yeah.
Because even now I'm using extreme pronunciation wherein I'm focusing only on my jaw movements and I'm focusing on completing the word before moving to the next word, and there is 0% chance for me to think about stuttering. Oh my god, I'm already occupied with a lot of other crutches. I'm engaged. So all right, I think that answers your
What,
question.
Prathusha, one more thing. The human
Yeah.
mind thinks sequentially, one
Yeah.
event at a time. You either think stuttering or you think something else. If you think anything else, I don't care what it is, you will not stutter. My whole book is about thinking about moving your mind 1 millimeter of an inch away from stuttering. And when you do it, you don't stutter.
Yeah. Period. I think that answers your question. I think up next we have James from UK.
Hi guys. Hi. Yeah, this is my first time here, so you're very nice to meet everybody. And of course, Paul, that was a really good speech. There was a lot of things in that that I could honestly relate to a lot. Just to give you guys a bit of sort of a background on myself, because this is the first time I'm here. I had a stutter ever since I can really remember, from the age of 3. And towards the beginning, it was extremely difficult, particularly, at kind of like at primary school and stuff. And it was extremely noticeable at that point. And then it got to a stage where I was about 10 or 11, and it was as I was about to go to high school. And that was the first time that I actually attempted to have any speech therapy, because it's something that I really wanted to confront, because I knew there was an issue there. So I spoke to my mom, and then I did like a summer school before high school. But the problem is at the time it was quite good for me because it gave me a lot more confidence, but it was focusing too much on the harsher letters. So I always had problems with particularly consonants. So things like if a word started with a D or say a T or something, I would really honestly find it difficult. So the problem was with that type of therapy, it was too focused on the letters and the words. Obviously, whereas with Lee's methods, it's much more focusing on loving to speak. And I think that if you're too focused on a letter, I don't think that you're ever going to get to that stage. So going back to a poor speech, I, at a younger age, particularly when I was a teenager, had a lot of problems on the phone, and I would get I'd always get a lot of anxiety, extremely nervous. I'd even like get to a stage where I'd call on one of my best friends, and if say like one of their parents was to answer the phone, I knew I wouldn't probably be able to introduce myself, so I'd have to hang up the phone. It was like extremely embarrassing. So I got to a stage where I thought, I can't accept this anymore. I need to do something about it. So it was the year before I was going to go to university, and I thought, what's the best way to overcome this? Because I know I have a problem on the phone. So I thought, and I've always been the sort of person that I like to face things, and I like to confront an issue. I try to fix something. That's always been my mentality. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to work in a call center, which probably when you've got a speech impediment probably isn't really the best idea, particularly at that point. I'd never met Lee. I had like no idea of crutches or anything. I just thought, okay, well, let's go for it. So I worked in a call center for a year, and it was stressful, don't get me wrong, but it gave me a lot more confidence, and it enabled me to obviously like make like random phone calls and stuff and not really be so like fixated on it. And I think that, I don't know, to everybody here, I think if say you are struggling and you are finding it difficult, I think the most important thing is to confront it. And I think that, as I said on the phone, that was something that I kind of like really did. The problem that I have now is more to do with public speaking. I haven't really been able to overcome that yet. So that's obviously something that I'm still trying to work on. But yeah, particularly on the phone, I can kind of completely understand that from a poor speech, that it is obviously very stressful, like particularly when you're working in the call center. And I was actually working as a debt collector. So like not only is it a kind of a normal, like call center, you're like speaking to customers who are extremely angry as well. So obviously you're under a lot of pressure. And then I met with Lee 2016. We had a few sessions together, and then we picked it up again, I think last year, 2019. The problem that I have is I don't have a lot of self-discipline. So I will be really intense about something and I think, right, I really want to get something sorted. And then like Lee will send me a message to say, look, James, like what's going on? You've not sort of like been in touch, like what's happening? We're not doing a session. So I think that my problem is probably self-discipline. Hence the reason I'm here. So I'd quite like to do this on a weekly basis if possible. So yeah.
Yeah, it's great to have you, James. And like you said, people know the crutches, they know how to use it, but sometimes they fail to be the speech cop and they end up stuttering. Yeah, like you said, being a speech cop is really, really important to get there, to become a BWSS. So I totally agree with you.
I was also going to ask, sorry, about public speaking. Have you attended things like Toastmasters and things like that?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. I have attended a couple of sessions in Toastmasters and it was great. And it was funny to note something there. They made note of all the R sounds that people make. But here, we make those R sounds voluntarily.
Okay.
and that's considered to be natural. So
Yeah.
I found that hilarious there. Yeah, so I've been there a,
Okay.
a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so I think that's it. We don't have any more hands up.
Yes, actually, can I make one point, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So sadly, this is to James, right? So James, you spoke really well, right? So awesome stuff. Secondly, I think like taking up a job in a call center, that's amazingly courageous, man. And the third thing was, yeah. So the point you mentioned about the self discipline, right? So I can totally understand that. How difficult it is to to do all the exercises every single day. And and I understand the fact that despite all of us are very motivated to overcome the problem, I understand that. With all the stuff that happens in life, right? Work, school, all of that stuff. It's extremely easy, like not to do all the practices daily. So one thing which has worked extremely well for me for that is the following, right? So basically, I essentially make a small calendar, right? And put all the activities which I want to do on a daily basis. So, for example, here the first one is affirmation, the second one is meditation, the third one is my speech practice, right? So basically, and then so basically, it's been proven by in multiple books. That you're sort of like tracking your progress, by like marking like a tick every single day, motivates us to keep going. And then let's say now say for example, say we have been doing it for, let's say, 5 days on the trot, right? Then missing on the 6th day is going to be a bit more challenging because as humans we sort of hate to lose streaks, right? So we suppose we have 5 days streak, then missing on the 6th day is going to be difficult. So for me this has worked extremely well. So yeah, so yeah. So I think that this is something which you might consider trying out as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, but I think it's about probably implementing a routine, so at least you've got something to work towards, and I think that's what I honestly would need, because I think at the moment it's a bit all over the place. It's a bit sporadic. So I think that there's just something that I need to get in the calendar that I can just work towards. So yeah, because the problem is that I don't really have like daily issues as such. So I can go like weeks with speaking well, and then all of a sudden I will have, say, a bad week or something, and then I think, okay, no, I need to get kind of like Lee's methods and stuff, and I need to get them kind of like more to an autopilot, a way of speaking. Because at the moment I'm not at that level yet, so I know there's a lot more work to really be done. So yeah.
All right.
Once you get the methods down, your bad weeks are over.
Yeah.
They're over.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Apurva and James. Javi, I think it's time to close.
All right. So I would like to finish this meeting by thank you all, and especially Apurva for his great speech. I've really enjoyed it. And so I'm going to close this meeting with our motto. If you can say one word anywhere, anytime, you can say and love to say any word, anywhere, anytime. Until next week. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.